Welcome back to the Comic Book Savant YouTube channel. I'm your host, James Harris. In this episode, we're having the next installment of the Comic Book Collector's Guide. This is episode 19, and we're going to do a one-on-one on collected editions and graphic novels. We're going to kind of define and break that down. We've talked about so many different topics in this series, and this is one of the ones I probably should have started with, is when we start getting in the realm of collected editions. From, we've had the discussion about digital comics versus physical comics, but then this is kind of physical comics going in transitioning into collected editions. Because in any collection, you're going to run into a situation where if you're buying a monthly book, you might run out of space and you might want to go to the next thing, which I guess if you look at the graphing chart up, you would go from maybe floppy issues or your single issues to something like a trade paperback, from a trade paperback to then maybe like something like a deluxe hardcover or deluxe edition, where certain companies, and we're going to get into that a little bit later, then from maybe deluxe hardcover editions, you might go to something like an Omnibus, and then we got some kind of other variations kind of in between there as well. But we're going to try to define and straighten that out in this episode. So when we go in and look at a definition of a collected edition, it is a collected edition could be a trade paperback or hardcover that collects several issues from limited or ongoing series in one place in one medium. These issues might cover a storyline from a specific book or several thematically linked stories in from a variety of different books, kind of like an anthology that's put together. That's kind of the rough definition of what you would consider a collected edition. A trade, aka short for trade paperback, or you'll see sometimes defined as TP or TPB, is a reprinting of anywhere from 4 to 12 issues of a monthly comic book. Though 6 is normally the standard. I've seen trades as small as like 3 issues and as many as 4 or 5, like they stated here. And that's normally the name of the paperback. This is a paper cover or cardstock cover with similar paper to what you're going to have, and the issues maybe a little bit glossy. Same format, standard size format of the individual issues themselves. And you can have some that go, like I said, 4 all the way up to 12. Sometimes when you start getting in 12s, you have certain things that are in that will bigger collections that will have like maybe 12 to 20 to 25 issues. You have things that Marvel did a line called their Essentials collection, where they were I think still standard size, but they were on paper newsprint, really cheap paper in black and white. And they did the Essentials collection for quite a while. They ended it sometime in the past 10 years or so. And then they started their Epic collection line, which is a premium version of the Essentials collection, where they actually do it on better paper, glossy, and it's colored. And they do like more of a sequential run of a book. And you get about 20 to 25 issues in one of those collections. They run about, I think they retail for about $40. You can normally always find the Epic collections cheaper online. And you get about 25 issues. They range somewhere around 400, anywhere from like 450 to 500 pages, roughly around 450 to 480 that I've normally seen in the ones that I've picked up online. Is normally the page count. So you get a massive amount in there. So they're kind of wiggled somewhere in between there. And Marvel used to do something called premium hardcovers when it was a really popular storyline that sold extremely well, that they really thought that was important. They would do, before the trade would come out, they would do a premiere hardcover that was the standard size of a book, but on good paper, glossy paper, colored, and it would only collect the 6-issue series. They stopped doing the premiere hardcover line. DC has been recently doing a similar format. I think they just call it deluxe editions or deluxe collections, I think. So again, it can get really tricky in there, far as the different offerings different companies will offer. But again, we're still just kind of defining. Again, you have your trade paperback, like I said, that's normally, a paper collection. Then we have the hardcovers. Then we have oversized hardcovers that are they're larger than your normal book. It has larger pages. It's more of a premium product. It's going to have the glossy paper, nice heavy paper. It's going to be oversized most of the time to spotlight really significant artwork. Like, if it's artists like maybe Jim Lee, David Finch. I'm trying to think about some other artists that are just really artwork that's stunning, that pops out. You're going to see maybe oversized hardcovers for those type books. Then you have deluxe editions that normally right now, the deluxe edition, the deluxe format, or the dubbing of that name is mainly associated with DC. They started a line for their Rebirth. It was the Rebirth Deluxe Edition collection that is oversized, and it will collect like more like 12 or so issue arcs or stretches in particular books. Now, I've seen them recently solicit some upcoming deluxe editions that's dropping the Rebirth off, because they were doing them to collect a lot of the Rebirth books when they had that run, when they had that start in the book, when they had that event and everything was dubbed Rebirth. They were doing it for a lot of their different titles, but I've been seeing recently, I think they had one, the Batman, Tom King Batman. They had 3 volumes that had the Rebirth Deluxe Edition 1, 2, 3, and then the 4th one was released, I think, about a week ago. It dropped the Rebirth, and it's just Deluxe Batman Deluxe Edition. So maybe they're gonna stop the moniker of the Rebirth, and they're gonna keep with that oversized format, and it's just gonna be Deluxe Edition. They haven't made any announcements. They just kind of shockingly made that switch. So that's a whole other thing. Then you have omnibuses, which omnibuses are an oversized hardcover collection that normally collects numerous issues. We're talking about anywhere from like 25 or so odd issues. So what I was talking about when it came to Epic collections, where Epic collections are smaller format, about 20 or so issues. Omnibus is oversized with that or even more. I've seen omnibuses with page counts like anywhere from 750 pages to all the way over to 1,000 pages. So we're talking about massive, like this thick, length of collections that are sewn, bound, just very, very nice. Again, since I collect more digital, I'm doing all these crazy hand signs to represent the books, because I don't have any physical comics to kind of show you what I'm talking about as far as the breakdown of the aspect ratios of the format of them. But you've probably seen, if you've ever been in a comic shop and you've seen those massive hardcover collections, those are the omnibuses that, like I said, are anywhere from $75 to as much as probably $125 there. So that's another option. Now, let's go over some of the formats of collected editions by the individual publishers that you might hear thrown out there. Like I said, the premier hardcover line that was done by Marvel, that's pretty much was discontinued because they were pricey. They would be pricey, and then later, if they put out a oversized collection, you're kind of double dipping within yourself. So I think the sales kind of fell off on that. People just waited till they did an omnibus or a oversized collection. So the sales on that kind of died out. Also, like I said, the essential collection that is basically pretty similar to what the Epic collection is, but it was done on cheap paper. They were meant to read and as a low price alternative to collect a lot of older books that if you found them individually, or if you couldn't afford the omnibuses, it was a cheap alternative to get big collections of classic books. And the Epic collection, like I said, kind of replaced the essentials, and they went a little bit more premium with better paper, it actually being colored, not all black and white, and they would hold up longer because essential collections, because it was on cheap newsprint paper, they didn't hold up well, like especially if you read them a lot. They were going to break down eventually over time, where the Epic collections are way better, well produced, so they're going to hold up a lot better over the long run into multiple readings. Absolute editions, which is something that I haven't talked about, is an oversized hardcover that normally comes in like a slip case that DC does, and this is like their super premium, top of the line kind of collector's edition. It's like the director's cut ultimate box set edition of a storyline, and this is one that either has really top talent, as far as top writer, top artist, like Kingdom Come or Batman Hush, Darkest Night, or Green Lantern Rebirth. Those titles that are those classic titles that they'll put in this ultimate edition. Back when I did have my collection, I owned quite a few of the absolute editions. They're beautiful. So like for the collector in you, if you want like the beautiful slip case, like you can lay it out on your desk and read it, and you have the oversized pages. The covers are very beautiful, and they come in a nice slip case, so they're protected. It says a beautiful presentation all the way around. I think most of the absolute collections will range. I think some of the cheaper ones are like about $35 to $40, and they go all the way up to like $100 normally, maybe $125 roughly, but in that $40 to $100 range normally is what they are, and they're beautiful. They're like a beautiful presentation, like I said. Then Marvel has Marvel Masterworks, which is their hardcover collections of a lot of Silver Age books. That line still continues to go on. They're kind of expensive. I think they're about $40, and they'll collect anywhere from like roughly around 10 to 15 issues of a series in a hardcover. But like I said, it's mostly Silver Age stuff that will be hard for you to get those issues, or be very expensive in these collections that you can read classic Silver Age stories of your favorite heroes. Which graphic novels are basically similar to a trade paperback, but graphic novels, or you hear original graphic novel, is sometimes where it's not a collection of previously told stories. It is its own original story, just be in this one bound edition. DC does their Earth 1 series, which they're all original graphic novels. They're using their established characters like Batman, Superman, Teen Titans, Wonder Woman, all those characters, Green Lantern. But those books are like somewhere around like 150, 180 or so pages of retellings or reimagining by different writers and artists, different interpretations on a different world, where they're retelling origins, and they're doing multiple volumes. So they continue on, and they have their own continuity that doesn't interfere in the main books. And I've reviewed a few of those. I know I reviewed Batman Earth 1, Volume 1 on the channel. I will remember to put a card here about that. There. Which is a really awesome thing there. Those are considered graphic novels that are original to that format, that has not been previously printed anywhere else. That's its own original story collected in trade format. So that's really what graphic novels are, or original graphic novels, or OGN. You might see it gets thrown out a lot when it comes to comics currently, because you hear in the movie terms, they'll be like based on, they won't say based on a comic book, they'll be like based on a graphic novel. Showcase Presents is another, this is from DC. It's kind of like the Epic collection, or the Essentials collection was for Marvel. It's kind of their answer to that. But it was, I don't think they were ever, I can't remember because I didn't buy any DC showcases, but I've seen them a lot. But I can't remember if they were black and white or colored, but they're basically like a hybrid between an Essential and an Epic collection. They, as far as their size, their format, and about the same number of issues collected. I don't know if they're still actively printing those or not. I'm not 100% sure. Then we also have library editions, which I think Image adopted this format, and also Dark Horse, which they're basically oversized collections, similar to what I said with DC with their deluxe collections. They're all similar in format, but they have different naming terminology, which can get super confusing to people. That's why I felt like this episode was really needed to kind of help people understand what all of this means. And a lot of them are very much similar, but it's just different terminology used by different publishers for their version of it. Then I have two more. Digests were small size, really cute, like $5 to $6 trades, essentially, that were just small size. They were not the standard comic size that Marvel was doing. I think they still do them, but they're mainly for like kids books. But like I said, I haven't seen them in a while, but I haven't been in a comic shop in a while. So it just could be I haven't seen them personally, but I don't know if they still produce those currently. And last but not least, the IDW collection. And this is IDW Publishing. They have basically another oversized hardcover collection. It's a little bit more than 12 issues. I think they range from more like 15 to maybe, I don't know if it's as many as 20, but it's somewhere in that 10 to 20 issue range that they do in an oversized bound collected edition. Again, that oversized hardcover, various formats, but they all are oversized hardcovers nonetheless. But they have a really beautiful presentation. I've been collecting them digitally for their Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle series, and then they have their staple series they've been doing in these IDW collections. They've done their Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. If you haven't read that series yet, jump on that. Their G.I. Joe they've done in the IDW collections, and Transformers are the three main books that I've seen them do in this format now. And again, they're presented extremely nicely. Like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, they'll each cover will always showcase a particular character from the series, and then they'll match the color of the spine to them. It is very like beautiful. I've seen reviews and pictures of them online, but like I said, I get them digitally. But if I was to do physical collecting, I would buy all these over again in the physical format. They're just very well done. They've become really popular for them. And I mean, like for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, they're already up to like volume 9 in this series. So they're committed to this line, and they keep putting them out in those series. So definitely want to check that out. So hopefully this was not sensory overload. I just wanted to go through and explain and break down some of the terminology and define some of these terms that are thrown around when it comes to graphic novels, trade paperbacks, whatever you want to go, collected editions, whatever you want it to call them. Again, this is what this series, The Comic Book Collector's Guide, is all about. It's about being a resource to you guys and to hopefully help you understand, get a better understanding of the hobby of comic book collecting. Again, I'm your host, James Harris. This is the Comic Book Savant YouTube channel. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel if you like the content. Also, smash that like button and leave a comment down below on any topics that you would like to see me cover in the future on this series.